Now then, let's talk to the government now. The Prime Minister may be in Italy for the G7 meeting, but his Conservative colleagues are continuing their campaign to convince voters across the country. I'm joined now by Bim Afolami, who's Economic Secretary to the Treasury. Morning to you. Thanks so much for talking to us. I want to start by asking you about reform, because in an opinion poll out from YouGov, they have overtaken the Tories for the first time. It is just one poll, but Nigel Farage is now saying we are now in opposition. How worried are you by that?
Look, elections are a process of, it's a fantastic democratic process where the public gets a chance to choose who they want to represent them. But I'm not worried about it, partly because, as you said, it's one poll, and there are hundreds of others that don't show them in anywhere like that. But even in that one poll, it shows the danger that if you do not vote Conservative, if you're a Conservative-minded person, a vote for reform is a vote for Keir Starmer, an unchecked power for Labour to tax your home, your car, your pension. That is not what I think the majority of British people want. It's definitely not what Conservatives want. And I urge them to know that there are only two people who could be Prime Minister at the end of this election, either Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak.
He's now saying a vote for the Tories is a vote for Labour.
I mean, but that's ludicrous. As everybody knows, there are only two parties that have a chance to form a government, either Labour or the Conservatives. And a vote for reform is a vote for Keir Starmer, an unchecked power to do whatever he wants.
There's no doubt that they are rising in popularity if you look at a number of the polls. Would the Tories consider now a deal with reform at all? There are a lot of people, a lot of your candidates concerned about losing their seats.
It's an election, right? We're not doing deals with anybody. We have a clear programme. We've set it out in our manifesto. We set it out in the months and years before the election. We have a very clear programme, a compelling programme to cut taxes on working people, to grow the size of the economy, to deal and improve our public services. Right? That's our programme. Labour have a plan to tax your job, your car, your home, your pension. And they're not even honest about exactly all the ways in which they're going to do that. But what we do know is that their manifesto had lots of tax rises, ours had tax cuts. Okay, that's the choice for the British people.
Come on to that in a moment, but just to stick with reform for one moment longer, because I want to ask you about some of your candidates who seem quite taken with reform. Andrea Jenkyns, for example, has even put a picture of him on her campaign literature. What do you make of that?
Look, all candidates are fighting in their own seats. I'm not going to comment on Andrea or anyone else. It's up to her as to how she wants to appeal to her electorate. It's nothing to do with...
But are you uncomfortable at all that Nigel Farage is on her...
Well, look, it's up to Andrea as to what she wants to do.
OK. Well, let's move on then to that issue of tax. I know that one of your colleagues at the Treasury, Laura Trott, is holding a news conference later to give the Conservative response to the Labour manifesto. So give us an idea of what she's likely to say. What can we expect?
Well, look, I'll let my fantastic colleague Laura Trott speak for herself. What I will tell you is that our plans are costed, detailed, and show that we are cutting taxes for working people and for families in this country. And Labour's plans are to increase taxes on people's job, their home, their car, their pension. And I'm afraid that is what is going to happen unless people vote Conservative and vote for a Conservative government. You
have committed to cutting national insurance.
Yes.
However, you have to acknowledge that under the Conservatives, the overall tax burden is still going to rise. A little less quickly, perhaps, because you're cutting national insurance, but it is still going to rise.
So what's really important to appreciate about the overall tax burden is that it's the overall. On working people, on people on lower incomes, on people on average incomes, people on above average incomes, actually their taxes are being cut. And the overall tax burden refers to the whole economy, right? So in terms of people watching this programme, the vast majority of people watching this programme, people on ordinary incomes, doing ordinary jobs, running ordinary businesses, for them, we are committed to cutting their taxes, as we have outlined.
But you are acknowledging... Sorry, can I just get an acknowledgement from you that the overall tax burden is rising under the Conservatives and it will be the highest since 1949?
No, the overall tax burden under the overall tax burden under Labour will be the highest ever, and that's confirmed in their manifesto. Under ours, taxes are being cut for ordinary people, and the overall tax burden, we don't believe will end up in that position because of growth in the economy, which we are focused on in terms of not just our cutting taxes, but our overall plans to grow the economy.
OK, let's move on to hospital waiting lists. Figures were released again yesterday showing that the routine hospital treatment in England, the waiting lists have risen for the first time in 7 months. How disappointed are you by hearing that?
Of course it's disappointing. It's very difficult. And you acknowledged very fairly that it's for the first time in 7 months. So for the last 7 months, it's been falling, the hospital waiting list. I'm confident that this is a blip and that actually we can get back to the trajectory that we were on, which is hospital waiting lists falling. But it's important to acknowledge. But it's important to acknowledge.
They're still higher than when the
course.
Prime Minister made his pledge to bring waiting lists down.
It's important to acknowledge that we haven't made as much progress on this as we would like.
And it's one of the key pledges of the Prime Minister, and it's another failure, isn't it?
The Prime Minister acknowledged it in the programme when he was questioned on this the other day. One of the main reasons for that is after the NHS, after COVID and recovering from COVID, making sure that, the difficulties that the system had were being addressed. And then we had a series of strikes which have really undermined the bringing down of waiting lists. But over the last 7 months, waiting lists have been coming down, and I'm confident that this temporary tick-up is just that, a blip, and that we will continue going down a positive trajectory to cutting waiting lists, which has been happening for most of the last year.
OK, I just want to finish up by asking about Craig Williams, the Prime Minister's aide, who's apologised for putting a bet on a July election just days before it was called. The Gambling Commission has launched an investigation. Can you clarify for us whether or not he knew that his boss was going to call an election when he placed that bet?
Look, I think Craig has put out a statement. I've seen it. He's put out a statement. The Gambling Commission, it's an independent process. They're dealing with it, and I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to comment further.
OK, well, the reports show that the Gambling Commission has asked bookmakers to trawl through all substantial bets placed on a July election. Do you worry that there could be others in the government's inner circle that have done the same thing?
You say reports. I haven't heard that from the Gambling Commission. They're going to make their judgments. Let them do their job. Should he be allowed to stand? Well, nomination's already in, so he's already nominated, but it is up to the voters in his seat in Montgomeryshire as to whether he's returned, as it is up to the voters of Hitchin whether I'm returned, and all of us standing in for election on the 4th of July. OK, Bim Afolami, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed for coming in.